there might be just 5 people listening to us. Hello, everyone. We are here with Avi and Nate. We're just going to hang because we were calling and talking about cool AI stuff. And I would love to hear their thinking. I know, Avi, you had a fun thing about ego. Nate, you were starting very interesting thoughts as well. So,
Well,
yeah,
I was
like,
just going to say, we were talking about people being able to give up their ego to work effectively with LLMs. And I was just going to say, I think people like Avi have an easier time of it because Avi, you have run an engineering team of like on the order of like 50 people before. And so I think people like you who have worked on the level of product and managing a large engineering team already, like when they pick up a team, I use that term loosely now, of like LLM agents, they're like used to that layer of abstraction. They're like, oh, I don't understand all the code that's being pushed to our repository. I'm used to things that being implemented exactly as I want 80% of the time and not 100. And like all of this like non-deterministic abstraction is like, yeah, I was already doing that with human beings. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
having this being done for me by LLMs is not that weird to me. And you don't have, you know, people like you typically don't have like 15 years of Vim config that they have to give up and like all this like uh attachmentship, like attachment to the artisan and craft nature of their work. They don't have to jettison that because you never had that. That wasn't the most important thing to you in the first place.
yeah. I mean, it's super weird. Like, on one level, like I do get a lot of like reward signal and like flow from actually thinking like an IC and approaching problems like an individual contributor. And like, at Flatiron, I couldn't do that. Like it wasn't high leverage. Like I was managing a team of like, our product engineering team was 60 people and they're incredible engineers. Like I just couldn't do that. I had to let go. Um, and the mind shift that really has occurred to me in the last like 4 to weeks is that like it's collaborating with the agents in Claude as though they're people. Like I have discussions, you know, in the same way that I used to have with like my VP of product and my VP of engineering and like senior engineering managers. And I have Claude present to me at levels of abstraction
Mm.
that like mirror the way that like like when a squad was bringing me like a feature, they weren't bringing me like lines of code to review. They were bringing me like screenshots and like like abstract things that I could look at and like point to and give them feedback on, without having to go deep and get into their like nitty gritty choices.
I think about this a lot with adoption of these tools. I feel like you have to, I do this in my own work, like you keep pushing on it and like keep seeing how far it can go by prompting at a higher and higher level of abstraction and saying, rather than being like, okay, I'm going to implement a video game today. All right, my prompt is going to be, 1,000 lines long, and it's going to specify like every individual sub framework we're going to use, and like here's how you're going to do the testing. Here's how you're going to do this. But just be like, I see these. I like to pay attention to what level people are prompting at, but I see stuff on X of like people who are more semi-technical getting away with like higher and higher levels of prompts. And I think it's something to pay attention to in your own work of two sides of that. One is like, are you prompting too low when you could get away with a higher level? And when you are prompting at a high level, where does it fall apart? So like
Yeah,
you've all encountered that because I think you both definitely have used these tools enough to see that that doesn't always work. I'm not saying that like ASI has been achieved and you can just say make me a video game that makes $1 billion, make no mistakes, and like it'll just work, right? Like so there's this. I'm constantly paying attention to that spectrum in my own work and trying to see where that fails. But I think a lot of like the resistance to LLM adoption can come from people that are prompting at too low a level and they're not pushing the abstraction capability and seeing like oh, actually, I like they're prompting things like, you know, I don't know, at the level of like edit this file, you know, write this test,
Yeah,
and then not being satisfied with the result and never going for like, you know, trying to one shot a uh new Ruby test framework, I don't know, or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
And to people that are more skeptical, I guess, or dissatisfied with the results, I would encourage you to start trying to
yeah. You know,
push
at like,
that.
at Flatiron, I remember like my VP of product, Lisa, told me one day that she had to coach the product managers when we hired them. That like, like one day Avi's gonna walk up to you and ask you really detailed questions about what you're working on, and you just have to give him honest answers on those details, because that's how you're going to build trust with him. If you're hand wavy, he's going to get in your shit and he's going to try to micromanage you, and
Hmm.
it's going to be really uncomfortable,
Do you
right?
guys notice? Do you guys do you have like a do you have a an agent equivalent for the hand wave? Like, do you see that? Do you feel that ever happening?
Right. So that's what like I've been finding with like, Kieran's like compound engineering stuff, is that that's where I was able to start developing trust with my agents,
Hmm.
is because like the guardrails and the patterns that I like and the aesthetics I like in the code and the technologies I want to
Hmm.
leverage, um, have been documented. So I
Hmm.
can trust it. Like I know it's not going to use like factory bot anymore randomly.
Hmm.
I know it's not going to try to like start like introducing crazy gems to my code base. Like, I know it's just not going to do that, so I don't have to micromanage it. Like I've kind of developed more of a trust with Claude and like the apps I'm working on,
Hmm.
so that like I'm not scared anymore. You know, um,
When I asked that question, I was thinking more at a micro level. Like, I think particularly Claude has this habit of saying things like oh, what's the wording? Like the blank and blank is a little buggy, so I fixed this. Or like uh it just it's like signaling that it says something is like buggy or like vaguely doesn't work, and what it's really saying is I don't understand this. And like I don't actually every time I see that phrasing come out of the LM, like, oh, you don't know what's happening and you're just pretending you do. And I feel like there's funny artifacts in the ways that LLMs work and talk that uh I I they're different than what you get when you work with a human, but it's kind of the same sort of thing. Like a human will confabulate and be like and say certain things when they don't actually know what they're talking about. And they definitely you definitely see LLMs do the same thing.
yeah, yeah, and like like I have like a good spidey sense of like when like especially like when I'm researching like like right now I'm like working on like scraping data from websites and processing it, and I'm using like a Python library called Crawl for AI, which is really good at like giving me like a good raw markdown file of all the content. But then I was looking at some of the content I'm getting, and there's like these massive chunks of text that are like the cookie banner text, you know? And
Hmm.
I asked Claude to be like, yo, how are we going to get rid of that? Like, are we looking at like trying to identify better selectors? Search the web and show me tools that can like semantically understand how to get the actual meat content of a web page, so that I'm not getting like, footer links and like, privacy policy stuff. Like, I just want the heart, and it found me this tool, and I said like, okay, like demonstrate to me that this tool works, like install it locally. I've never used this Python library, like, prove it to me, right, that this
Hmm.
was the best research you could do, right? And then like again, that was where like I feel like I'm collaborating with an engineer, like I'm on a whiteboard and we're playing with it
Hmm.
in real time, like I used to do, with people. That I just wasn't, I didn't have that mindset like a few months ago, and how I
Hmm.
approached working with AI. Like I would do the research first, having found this tool, and then tell Claude to do it. and that's the slow part that like just I now just know how to kind of talk to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Also, by the way, not typing like monologue is just unbelievable. Like just
I
real.
don't know why people type. No,
Do you
you
guys
should
have
not
like
type.
more monologue hacks? I feel like I can't build the habit because I'll say my workflow with monologue is I just double tap push to talk and it goes into the terminal window and that's it. Like, are you guys doing something else that I'm
that's
not doing?
that's it. I don't have any custom prompts on top of it. I'm just doing that. You know, yeah, it's really conversational, and there's back and forth for a little bit. For like small things where I'm like, oh, move the navigation link, like maybe I'll type it. But like when I'm like having a discussion, it really is a brain dump and like a back and forth, and it works just so well. Um, yeah,
Yeah, what I also like, I like that, but I'm using the iOS app. Then there's a notes feature, so there's iOS beta as well, and there's a notes feature, and that's just the brain dump. That's just before I used to use a voice memo recorder or
Mm,
Limitless. I just brain dump stuff while walking because walking works great for me. There are no distractions. It just you go, the brain works, just brain dump, and then I just park that and process it in another batch because then my brain is in a like I'm in like generation mode versus work mode, and I think that like even though the iteration loop is nice and it gives dopamine hits, like it's not always efficient for me because you need to switch, and if you batch like thinking, for example, deep thinking together, normally I can think deeper and I just
mm,
combine different things and I line them up and then I batch them later in planning where I say this is the brain dump for this feature I did outside, and then I use the compound engineering plan. Sometimes I do the deepen plan as well, and then it just makes something out of that, and then I do a bunch and then I go review. So I do like to kind of chunk them together. I don't love like it gives a good feel, like the vibe coding, like just jumping back and forth is nice and it is addictive and all of that, but I also feel it's very overwhelming for me to keep like it's very nice and it's very
I
empowering, but it's also very intense.
I
yeah,
know
no,
what you mean. I feel like I have felt the same thing. So like you've got four or five windows open and you're constantly jumping in between back and forth. And there's like a kind of like in the moment mania about it. I think this is a pointer to the next layer of agent orchestration that is being built right now. And I think that that pain will be solved by basically going down to one window and having something more like there will be a workflow that presents work to you one at a time, and treats you the human being like a queue to be managed,
Hmm.
and we haven't figured out what that is yet, both in terms of like no one's built anything like that. I think a whole new world of like workflows and uh abstractions has just opened up and no one knows what the right answer is. But I feel like that that feeling of the five windows open
yeah,
blasting around mania is that's
but
where
but it's the same
that's
with
what
sixty.
the orchestration has to
Yeah.
solve.
yeah.
But it's the same if you're a CEO. Like, isn't that like very old news? It's just being a CEO. Isn't that the same thing? Only
Yeah.
then people that follow or like
True.
agents actually do what you tell them to do.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was trying to kind of say. Like with the like, I would get really frustrated when people came to meetings and would present me with stuff at like such a low level that like I would like be like, "Whoa, you guys like you're telling me a lot, and I'm trying to process this, and it's taxing my brain. Like,
Yeah.
just show me
Hmm.
the demo, like just show it to me, and then we can
Hmm.
go down and deep." So I'm trying to get Claude to like with Versal's like awesome agent browser, like I really just have it give me screenshots at this point of stuff, which has been really good, so I can look at it because that takes 2 seconds, and if it looks good, and the test pass, I'm like, okay, cool. The code's probably good enough, like, well, if it's not, we'll figure that out later, but I'm not going to dive deep because, like, that's what becomes mentally taxing. And then also at the same time, I have days where, like, there's decision fatigue and, like, there's only so much mental capacity I have. I get, like, just tired. I don't want to think anymore. And I just have to, like, accept that, like, in 4 hours, I just did, like, 3 weeks of work. And, like, I'm just done for the day. I know I could do more. Like,
You can think more. Come on.
no, 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 I don't want to burn out, man. Like, I just, like, I can go touch grass, like, I'm productive enough. Like, I'm not trying to squeeze everything out of my brain yet. At least as long as VCs are subsidizing token prices for me, like, the second they start raising prices, like, but, like, Ruby is, like, crazy efficient on the token stuff. So, like, I feel like we have a big win there. But yeah, like, it's nuts. It's totally bananas.
Yeah, there's research that came out this week, I think, from Anthropic that said like the AI will kind of mimic your like how smart you are or how you think, how much you know. So if you know a lot, like it will actually talk a different way with you, like level
Is
up.
this part of that like personality
Yeah. No,
post? I don't remember the
it came out, I think, 2 days ago or
general.
so. They did some
Yeah,
research about. I need to know, but I'm curious because that kind of means that if you are a CTO or CEO or not a IC, like probably it's easier for you to get how to work with AI as an IC because you already
yeah,
understand
yeah,
like the moving parts or the things there.
yeah. I mean, one thing I don't know if it makes a difference, but, like, I'm really nice to Claude. Like, I manage it. Like, I have, like, a sign off, like, a skill. Like, I thank it, I congratulate
Hmm.
it, like, I tell it, like, it did a good job. Like, like, I don't
Have
know.
you guys even had the heart to like try like the abuse workflow of
No,
like
no,
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Claude,
oh yeah.
Claude, my
definitely not.
dog is gonna get shot unless you implement
No,
this feature. I
no.
was
I don't.
tempted once and I was like, I can't do this.
I don't understand that. I just don't understand that at all.
Well, back in the days, Avi, your evals went up by a lot if you did that.
Yeah,
Sadly,
Yeah, I
but
think it's
but
less
not
necessary
anymore.
now.
yeah,
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 it's not anymore. I
yeah.
don't think it really
yeah,
matters anymore.
And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not trying to like jailbreak anything. Like there's nothing I want to do that's like
no.
not possible. So I don't see
yeah,
the need for it.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think the model is good enough. Like the model Opus 4.5 is so good that like we're
yeah,
barely scratching the surface. And like Nate, you're saying like the next thing is more like how do we have one command that does everything? And then like it's just like you have an idea or two, it's all done here, the screenshots. And I have an experimental version called slash LFG in compound engineering, which basically just uses everything I have in my entire plugin. Like it records videos, creates screenshots, everything, and does it in one go. And I'm running these on my Mac Mini here. So I have my Limitless that just listens to what I say, and then it extracts features from there, and then kicks off an LFG command on Cloud Code, and then
Yeah.
like it pings me on iMessage something is waiting for you to look at you, and I just look at the screenshots, and it's not working great, but like it's almost working. And I'm not saying it's not working because the AI is not good. It's just not working because it's another thing I'm also experimenting with. So I'm curious if any of you like are you trying to do the like the always running, or where are you pushing the AI at this point?
Always running. That is an interesting idea.
I just
I
can't do it.
think go ahead, Abby. I have an idea, but I gotta
Yeah,
queue something
no,
up.
that's what I was saying about the mental load for me is just too much. It's too taxing on my brain. Like, I just accept that, like, the efficiency I've gained is redonkulous, and, like, I just don't, like, yeah. I mean, in theory, I could have them running all the time, but, like, the queue up of things I would need to think about and review and plan in advance and then afterwards, like, it's just mentally exhausting. Like, I'm
But then you do it wrong, I think, because you should have a system where it will tell you what you want. Like that's my like that's the the point. It like the rawest
Yeah.
idea, you just like freestyle out, and it will like figure out what you mean from that, and then actually
Right,
do
right.
work.
Means can I spin up 10 of those or 100 of them, right, at a time, right? Especially like I'm a solo dev on my team or whatever I am,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call
Yeah.
me at this point. So everything is coming through my like mental context. Um, and that's really hard. Like I don't want to wake up in the morning and be like and have Claude and have 30 pull requests for me to review. It's just going to be so exhausting. I'd rather like have five, take a break, spin up the next five. Like it's you know
Where we're going, you're not going to be merging PRs, Avi. They're just going to be merged.
Why are you merging PRs? YOLO, no.
no. I mean, like yeah.
So I think a lot about um, how we are going to scale verification and how are we going to scale human review. And the concept, which I think this is Dan's original idea
Hmm.
of like these like levels of attestation. And he came up with this originally to like fix his like markdown problem of like he was writing articles partly in an LLM and partly human, and he wanted to call out first of all when that was occurring, and then second of all like parts of this document are like written fully by me and parts of it are not, and he wanted some like markdown extension to do that. I think the exact same concept applies to the code that we're writing. And the I think now the job is to convert code from what you've called like the A4 level of verification to something closer to A2. I think there's like a basically there's a hard line here between these two levels in Dan's original spec that
Hmm.
really any serious company cannot deploy anything that
Yeah.
is not A2 or
Yeah.
above, right? So
Yeah.
like on a personal project, who gives a fuck? You
You
deploy
can do
anything, I don't
whatever,
care.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. But like for a company that actually has paying customers that makes money, they're going to want everything to be A2 and above. And how do you do that in a as scalable a way as
Yeah.
possible
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
reduce the amount of fatigue on people like Avi, I
Yeah.
think is the job now.
Weak brains people that don't have the energy.
I was literally just working with Claude on. I wanted to be able to evaluate GitHub issues that my team is posting to basically determine, like, hey, is this a cosmetic thing that I don't even need to look at, where like you're confident that you can implement it without even and merge it and deploy it. And even if it's a mistake, it's easy to roll back because we're going to have sentry errors. Like I wanted to basically remove those from the workflow from the human loop entirely, right?
Yeah,
Like,
wait. So I want to get back to. I think I had to throw this to Kieran. So like this is something that I've struggled with. I think trying to implement an agent native application is. I think that you just got at something, Avi, there that I think that's like very important in all this is like what is so for any LLM driven produced action, uh, can it be rolled back? Like this is part of Dan's spec too. You're gonna have to help me,
Hmm.
Kieran, on the wording here. Like, is it
Yeah.
something that can be easily rolled back? Like, what are the consequences of the LLM screwing up here? So, like,
Hmm.
what do you think, Kieran, is like when you're thinking about like what can I offload onto an LLM without mm, paying too much attention to it? Like, what are the characteristics of that work that you're looking at? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
let's call it safety because this is what that word is typically used in like software engineering in the past. Is like that word has been
Yeah.
safety. Uh, what do you think are like the characteristics of safe LLM work?
Hmm. It's a good question. So I have an app that manages your email, which is kind of important. So I think
Mm,
about this like people
yeah, yeah, yeah,
trusting
yeah.
their
You don't want to be
entire
like
life.
permanent deleting people's emails based on an LLM
No,
output.
no, we have really cool people like the like Mike Krieger is using Cora, and like as Mike Krieger, probably your email is important and you don't want it to be deleted. And obviously everyone, but like especially like people that are investing or miss deals or stuff like that, it can be very bad. So I think it changes over time as well. Um, we lost our good friend here, but
Yeah.
he might be back. I think it changes over time as well a little bit when the Nate comes. Hey,
I just clicked the wrong button. I thought I was ending my screen share and I just deleted myself.
I did that before, yes. So I think it changes over time. And so initially, like a way to like first it was like pydantic, like schemas, JSON schemas, making sure at least the data is correct. That was kind of the guardrail, the safety net. I think that solved. We don't get back any wrong data anymore. The next thing is like you go more agentic, you start to introduce tool calls. And how I always did that was making sure they're workflows. So you define workflows within your app. For example, hey, I want to change a category for this email. You say, oh, you pull the email, then do this, change the category. So it's clearly defined. This is the workflow. That's more workflow based, triggered by an agent. And that's also pretty safe. Obviously, agent native says die shall not have any of those things because that's not flexible. And it's kind of true because there is more flexibility if you look at Cloud Code, for example. Like you can do anything. And part of this is safety comes also, like I think we talked about it earlier, is also giving up, like trusting a system. Because what I hear with Cora most of the time is like, I don't trust it yet. But if people say, did it do anything wrong? No, it didn't do anything wrong. But like, it's kind of a lot to give this control up. So it's also like a mind shift we have to take, that there are apps that are just doing things that we need to get comfortable with. And I think it's something in our own brains that we need to adapt, and probably we'll start doing that more.
Well, I think everybody
Yeah.
that's LLM coded for a significant amount of time has like felt this progression from
Yeah.
I'm reading every line this writes to where I got to last week, which is like I just shipped this whole thing that
Yeah.
I've been working on for a week and I haven't read the code ever. Like we all have.
Yeah.
That's something that builds over time.
Yeah, and I think for apps and users it's the same, but still, like
Mm.
there is uh, safety within there. Like I do think just sandboxing, just like stuff you would normally do, like just don't do stuff. Just imagine someone has access to whatever that environment is that is not the user or you. Can you do bad stuff? That should not be the case. You shouldn't have that be possible. So it's but also like if you give a user access to their own computer, can they do dumb stuff? Yeah,
Mm.
obviously. But the model, if you use the cheaper models, maybe not, and it's a different story. But if you use more premium models, like I don't think, like I've not felt they or seen they do things badly. Like even like the Gemini flashes of the world just follow very well. Um, but yeah, like I don't have the answers, but that's that's where I'm now. And what I'm doing now is actually I'm going to remove a lot of these tool calls and move things to a skill based architecture, which means like the foundation is just more built. It's just simpler. And what I also know is if it is simpler, less mistakes are made. And skills also gives, especially with the cheaper models like Flash, if you like give them like 10 directions and then, but this one is the most important, and like it just trips over these things. And I've seen if it just does three things and more flow based, like just in time, works very well. So I think not making mistakes. I think it's context management, just making sure there are no different perspectives of what action to take. And skills are really great because skills combine like prompt, just in time prompts with doing things and business logic, which you can then move out of your prompt. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. I don't have the answers, but that's some random thoughts and things that I'm doing
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I guess like for me, I haven't had to worry about this as much yet, because like I'm not touching people's emails in my apps. Like a lot of his internal stuff for the fund I work for. Like my first product is going live pretty soon, but I don't have like users yet. Like it's not dropped my production database or leaked my keys accidentally. Like the first time I had to install Claude on a server, I was like, this is scary, but it just works. I let it SSH in at this point. But I guess what I would think about are two things is one, really marking certain things. And this is beyond the test suite. You just got to tell it at some point, anytime you touch this part of the system, you are in a critical path and like you got to be careful and this has to be reviewed by me,
What are you
right?
trying to prevent? Like what is like the kinds of things you're trying to prevent when you say that? What are the things you're worried
For
about?
instance, like I don't know, not encrypting certain data that's being written to the database, right?
Mm,
Like if a user is inputting an API token into my app, like that
mm,
needs to go through active record encryption. I don't want it ever written into the database without my
mm,
knowledge,
mm.
right? So I would basically want it to say like, listen, like you know, this feature includes them putting in a credit card, this or an API key, right? Like anytime you touch this part of the code, right? Like I need to look at it to make sure that that's maintained. Like if that's sort of a trivial example,
Yeah,
right? It'd
yeah.
be like like yeah, a lot of the simple stuff like SQL injection is getting caught by like standard tools, but it would be things like that, accidentally triggering a workflow that might email a lot of people, right? Like, kind of like the HBO, this is a test, like
Mm,
everyone got during COVID. Like, those would be the kind of things that I would really want to put, like, kind of like guardrails against so that, like, anytime we're running a large batch process that might end up communicating with users or like send out like personal information accidentally, I'd want it to
yeah.
know that like, yo, you can write this, but like this is not like a place where like you touch production where like, you know, again, I live in YOLO mode. I understand people that aren't dangerously skipping permissions all the time. But like I can imagine as I get into more scenarios where like there are critical paths where like, yeah, I'm just gonna build in like, tag this part of the code, tag this skill. When you touch it, like you gotta ping me because like that can't go live without me actually looking. And then the
Side
other
note,
thing
I,
is
I
like,
really like how OpenCode separates tool call permissions from external directory access permission. So like
Hmm.
I'm currently running OpenCode with all tool calls, like do whatever you want, but external directory access approve. And that's been actually really nice for me because by the time I'm going to an external directories doesn't happen that often. And when it does, that's actually a really kind of
right,
dangerous point,
yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah,
So
right,
I
yeah,
also, of course, YOLO mode, but
right,
that new little distinction's been fun for me.
yep,
Shout
yeah,
out to Matt because I had exactly this thing. He says the only kind of bad thing I've seen models transposing UID digest. I've seen that as well, where it thinks it's a certain shape of ID and then like just puts it in somewhere. I think this is a very, very dangerous thing. If imagine you have a string that represents something that's cast to an integer, and a string has a value because in Ruby you can cast a string to an integer, and that integer, for some reason, you look at something that is not scoped by something you should have scoped it by. Suddenly, you can read anyone's data. So this is something I, I I like am worried about the most, like prompt injection. Like how do you cheat your tool calls into doing the wrong thing? And yeah, I think this is just something we need to train ourselves as Rails devs. It's like, hey, actually, all the tool calls we should treat as user input data. It could literally be anything because you can change the prompt so that it can input anything. So if you create tools with arguments, just
Yeah,
treat it like it's a controller, right?
yeah,
Like if you do it like that, then probably you're fine.
yeah. The other thing I was just thinking about is I have like a lot of like Rails engines that are being used by multiple apps. So when I need to, when one app introduces a requirement update for the engine, like what I basically need to do is basically actually find all my apps that are relying on that engine and also make sure that like this requirement isn't going to break those apps because like I don't my gem file does not have versioning. Like I want to ride edge. Like I can't believe I'm running 4.0 and like Rails main in production. Like it's awesome. But like, yeah, if I update an engine that I'm using that I wrote um, or that I forked, like I know that the other apps that are depending on this might get like kind of like uh, you know unintentional damage, and like I need to have a workflow to basically go into those apps and like make sure that when those apps update the gem and get the new code, they don't break from this new requirement.
Mm. I want to respond to something you said there because, like, I think when you talk about, I think the security example is a good one. I think I'm going to go back to my screen share here. When you say things like, I need you to always flag this for human review, I think that's not going to work. Like, that's not going to scale. First of all, Avi is not a security expert.
Yeah,
Second of all, like that,
Burn.
like, I'm not either, man. And like the stuff I'm seeing on X
No, it's
about like
hard.
what's going
No
on with
one is.
security is
Yeah.
horrifying me. So,
Yeah. Mhm.
um, the like, uh, that like people I never very conscious right now of like anywhere I'm building into a workflow where I'm mandating human review because I just think that the most scarce attention in the future of software development, most scarce resource in the future of software development will be attention in a way that it has not until now. And managing that resource, I think, is going to become extremely critical. So anytime I just say like, okay, mandatory, this has to go to human review, to me is like that's like giving up this precious resource that I'm trying to manage. So if I'm
Mhm.
thinking about how do I get my code to like an A2 level of attestation and verification, Sandbox is a thing. And I think most people right now are talking about Sandbox in the context um, of local like prompt injection security. And I think what we're going to start talking about is what more about what you said, Kieran, of like an application level sandbox. We kind of already have this as software developers with Git, but people are going to start doing like an application level sandbox of like my LLM can do things and queue things up in a way in my app that is easy to roll back and audit. Um, and that layer hasn't needed to exist before, but I think people are going to start building that into their apps because so that they
yeah,
can let the LLM queue up things for human verification and not constantly be stopping the user to verify,
yeah,
and instead come up with like, here's all these things I did for you. Would you like to move this out of the sandbox into the real world now? And then so that makes the consequences of shipping bad shit lower because
yeah,
they will only happen in the sandbox and the user will
yeah,
say no, please
yeah,
don't do this.
yeah,
On
yeah,
the engineering side, the I think part of the answer is going to be more tokens. So like when you say, Avi, like, oh, I please bring this up for review, I think part of the solution for things like this is going to be like throw it to GPT-5 Pro Oracle and just please just review this with a million tokens and then get back to me. I think that's going to be like the temporary like uh that's how we're going to band-aid some of this. Then after that, I think we are going to build 10x the amount of verification and specification into our applications in a way that we did not during the era of human only engineering.
Yeah.
And things like things like what you just said is not can be verified by software. Like we can build software that figures out if you wrote secrets to the database or not. So like I think about this a lot in the performance context because it's an area that I'm more familiar with. Like I used to tell people don't write load tests. They're too hard to maintain. There's too much work. Like I think that I have to update that now
Yeah.
because it's so much easier to build the verification for these things, which could not exist before.
Yeah.
And I think that there's so many advantages to that because as soon as you set up like a hard pass fail bar, you guys both know you've created the brute forcing loop that the LLM is really good at.
Yeah.
So I think I'm really paying attention to when I say things like that in my own workflow, like this must be human reviewed, and trying to eliminate that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think that that's going to be where this has to go.
Yeah. Like one thing I have is also like preview branches working, with
Yeah,
Unify.
yeah,
And then like what I really want to try to do is like start doing like Chaos Monkey end-to-end testing where I
yeah.
let the agent purposely try to break the preview branch.
Yeah. And Avi, these are all things you used to do at a team of 50 people. And like now you can and should probably do them at a
Yeah.
team of one with 10
Yeah. Yeah.
LLM windows open at a time.
Yeah.
So that's a general pattern I've noticed too, is like things that I used to tell companies of 50 people, I'm now telling to companies of five.
Yeah.
Feature flagging, canaries, all that stuff is like stuff you used to only do at bigger teams. And now you can and should do it if you're shipping with LLMs at
Yeah.
smaller teams.
Right.
Totally agree.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, like preview branches for one person, like for when it's just me, like is such an insane thing. But like one, it makes it easier for me to like actually like, okay, I just can click on it and like play with the app and I know it's safe. Right. But like I'm really excited about like having an agent when a preview branch goes live, like Chaos Monkey the app. Right. Like
Hmm.
hack it, try to go through these critical
Mhm.
paths and break it.
There, Avi, there's a beautiful command slash browser test in combat engineering. It's basically trying to do that for you with the agent
Yeah.
browser.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, so yeah, and if anyone didn't try this, yes, Opus 4.5 is very good at using a screen and clicking through and thinking about flows. So I love the agent browse CLI from Vercel from last week.
Oh
It's
my God.
very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good because
Mm.
so everyone try to use that.
Yeah. Have you
It's
Quick,
very good.
have
Yeah.
you
quick vibe
updated?
check before we got to wrap up,
Yeah.
Kieran. Have you tried Gemini on those workflows instead?
Uh,
The Pro 3 or what
I
the
no,
Pro?
yeah, I have tried. I think Claude Opus 4.5 is still the best and more my style. I do like
Mm.
5.2 codecs for certain other things, but
My my my
yeah,
reason for asking was just because I feel like some of the benchmarks have shown that
vision is very high there. Yeah,
yes, and so I was
yeah.
just curious, like, have you seen like like visual computer use be better on Gemini 3 personally?
No, I haven't seen because the combination of planning and like I think it
It's not the
gets
only
so
thing you're
good.
doing, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
the thing is what you're doing is thinking about the story in the longer horizon thing, and Opus is very good at. I think that's why it's so good at it. But yeah,
Matt, just to close on that comment there, I wonder what lessons from our cousins in electrical engineering verification, like the teams that make sure a CPU chip is working correctly. I'm trying to learn from our colleagues in automotive manufacturing. This is a book that I read a long time ago about manufacturing. And because I think software is becoming an industrial process, going back to this now, I do think that there's a lot in that. I think that my lens right now is software is becoming a manufacturing process, and luckily there's a lot of prior art on that. So I agree, and I am trying to learn those lessons.
love it.
Yeah.
Thanks. This was great. Let's do
Yeah.
more at some other points because we're all trying to learn what the hell is going on, and we all love Ruby, and we should build tools and things together and just make it amazing to work.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, thank you for everything you've taught me and just everything you've shared, Kieran. It's been life changing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, Matt. Thanks for joining us while your Claudes were doing all your actual work for you.
next time join us because I would love to pick your brain on that as well.
Yep. Awesome.
See you all. Have a good one.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.